Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all of you who are joining from many different places around the world with us today. I would like to offer you a very warm welcome to this webinar and looking forward to the discussion that we will have over the next hour and a half. I am Deirdre Warner-Kramer. I'm the Acting Director of the Office of Marine Conservation at the U.S. Department of State. And it is my pleasure to welcome you here to the launch of this new e-learning course. This is focused on management procedures for sustainable fisheries, which are important and ever-growing tools for managing our vital shared resources. And we believe that this e-learning course that is now available is a truly collaborative initiative that will have an excellent contributing effect and be a great tool for strengthening global capacity in fisheries management. I'd like to offer a few housekeeping notes before we move into the substance of our work today. Just to note that there is interpretation available in English, Spanish, and French, so you should see the tool for that at the bottom of your screen. We'd like to note that there is an opportunity to submit questions through the Q&A box. Then there is also a chat for any technical issues or for any introductions. And I understand that there may be right now an issue with the access to the chat, but I believe that the technicians are working so that that will be available. I would also like to just offer notice that this webinar is being recorded. So we will have this available on the website along with the e-learning courses going forward. But please do note that this is being recorded at this time. In addition to our panel of distinguished speakers who will be able to offer us a number of important thoughts on the issues around the use of management procedures and what they can do and what they can also be in a different system, we will have a few interactive features, including some polls. So we're going to kick things off with the first poll so that we can better understand who is joining us today. We will be opening that poll momentarily. It will ask about your region that you are joining us from, the type of institution that you represent, your fisheries context, and what you're most interested in learning from today's session, so we can be sure to answer and address all of those points. It should be quick, take about a minute, and then your responses will help guide this discussion during the panel session. So before we launch that, we will go ahead and offer some information about how we will proceed with our conversation this morning and whatever time it is for you. There will be three parts to this session. We're first going to start with some scene-setting presentations that are introducing the FAO eLearning Academy itself, and then also the specifics on this new course related to management procedures. Then we'll get into the role and the benefits of the management procedures, including an update on how they are being applied in various international fisheries. After those introductory remarks, we will have a roundtable discussion with the practitioners and experts who have joined us here. They will share information on the progress, the lessons learned, and the practical perspectives that they have from different regions and different institutional contexts. And we'll be able to reflect on how this e-learning course might help support capacity development across those range of areas and activities for sustainable fisheries. And then at the end, we will be able to open with a question and answer session. So your views and your participation are very important to us. We encourage you to engage actively during this webinar, and in particular to submit questions that our panelists might be able to answer in that final session. So knowing that we have a lot to get through, let's just launch right into our process today. And let's start with the first poll. You should see that available on the screen to you now. And again, this is aimed at helping us understand who you are, where you're coming from, but also what you're most interested in and where you might have some particular needs or areas of information that are the things you want to learn the most about. So the poll is open to you now. We'll pause just briefly while we will do this poll, and I will turn it over to Costanza to offer any information on the poll that you should see.
Thank you very much. We see that we reach 30% of the people that are joining answered. We're going to give you another minute. This is just to have a background information about where you're joining from. These are similar questions that we asked during the registration. I see that so far the majority is coming from Africa and Asia, Europe. That's really interesting. I see that some colleagues are also writing in the chat that they cannot see the poll. It's fine. You can even write it in the chat. No worries. It's really to have an idea about you and your expectations. So no worries if you cannot see that on your screen. Sometimes if you're joining with your mobile phone, it might not work. So we're gonna wait a couple of seconds and then we're gonna end and share the results with you. So everyone knows more or less where the others are coming from and the type of institution organization they're affiliated to. So as we reach a really good number of responses, I'm gonna end it and share the results with you. I hope you can see that. Everyone can see the results. Yeah, the majority is coming from Africa, I see. And then from the government, that's great. Non-governmental organizations. Yeah, again, if you didn't manage to answer to these questions, don't worry, you can even write in the chat. What is really interesting is what you wish to learn from today's webinar. So all of this will be covered in our presentation, so don't worry. And I think I can stop sharing so we can proceed. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you very much. We'll pick things back up. I'm very happy to see the very wide-ranging participation that we have here, both in terms of geography and background. I do note that we have the least participation for those time zones where it is, needless to say, not so conducive. But that's another reason why this will be posted and available and recorded so that others can be able to review the information at their leisure. It was interesting to see the information on the things that the participants most want to learn about, and that there's a fairly even distribution. But I did notice that the one that seemed to get the most votes was the question of practical applications. So I will point that out to our panelists and make sure that in our remarks and in our discussion, we can be sure to highlight that, not just the theory, but really what these management procedure tools can do and how they actually work in the real world. But let's kick things off with our speakers. And first, I would like to invite and welcome warmly Victoria Vargas Lensis, who is the Senior Fishery Officer at FAO, and she is the Global Coordinator of the Common Ocean Programs. Victoria is a leading expert in global sustainable development and a strong advocate for addressing the root causes of hunger and poverty through the sustainable transformation of aquatic food systems. So with that introduction, it is my pleasure to invite her to officially open the launch of this new e-learning series on management procedures for sustainable fisheries. Victoria, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Deirdre, and thank you all for joining us. It is my pleasure to welcome you in great numbers today. We are here today to launch this new free and certified training course series on management procedures for sustainable fisheries. these courses have been designed to strengthen capacity worldwide, so it's good to see the global participation today, and it is designed to implement science-based management procedures. Under the Common Oceans program, in fact, the Tuna project of this program, several organizations worked together to make this knowledge accessible to you and to interested professionals. The content and the design of the courses have been prepared with the support of the FAO eLearning Academy, the Ocean Foundation, the Pew Charitable Trusts, and the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation. Building capacity in fisheries is part of a larger challenge. Oceans and aquatic resources are essential for food security, nutrition, and livelihoods. Fisheries and aquaculture support more than 600 million people globally. Many of these people depend on aquatic resources and live in communities with scarce alternative employment opportunities. Keeping our oceans healthy and productive requires responsible and forward-looking management. This should be grounded in science at all levels, and it should be supported by cooperation, by international cooperation. FAO's mission is to end hunger, and it places aquatic food systems at the center of this mission for sustainable development. Blue Transformation is dedicated to the transformation of the fisheries and aquaculture sector with this aim in mind. We will transform the fisheries and aquaculture sector to unlock its full potential, to basically nourish more people, support resilient livelihoods, and to stimulate inclusive growth, of course. The Common Oceans program is the framework which gives the opportunity for us to be here today. It is a global partnership. It has been in place since 1994. We have been building this global partnership since then, and it is contributing to this vision of blue transformation. It is led by FAO, financed by the Global Environment Facility. Through this program, key actors gather and work together to connect the global ambition to practical action. So your wish to know more about practical implementation of management procedures is very much in our mind and in our focus. We promote worldwide responsible, efficient, and sustainable fisheries, and to conserve marine biodiversity in the areas beyond national jurisdiction at the same time. The Common Oceans program brings together 65 partners, including regional fisheries management organizations, academic partners, governments, industry, and civil society. They work together towards shared solutions. With the launch event today, you will hear more about management procedures. You will hear how management procedures and harvest strategies improved fisheries resilience to data gaps and uncertainty. You will hear how management procedures helped building stakeholder trust, and you will hear how they are an excellent way to create and provide more stable, long-term fishing opportunities. FAO's most recent assessments of global fisheries showed that tuna fisheries, for example, are now among the most sustainably managed in the world. 87% of assessed tuna stocks are categorized as sustainable. This is a significant improvement. We can say that from the widespread concern of overfishing just a decade ago, the situation has evolved. This positive change, of course, is linked to many factors, but among them to the adoption of management procedures. Today's event marks an important step in strengthening fisheries management capacity globally, especially for RFMO managed fisheries. This course will focus on examples of tuna management. However, the content and the approach are applicable to a wide range of fisheries. On a practical level, for those of you who intend to take part in this e-learning series, please note that it's free of charge and it offers an official FAO certificate upon completion. The courses have been designed in such a way that they can support professionals at various stages of their careers and also in a variety of roles and responsibilities. You will see our panel of experts, that they are leaders in fisheries science, operations, and policy. They will share real-world examples with you. Through their examples, you will understand that we apply management procedures across diverse fisheries. They will highlight how these tools improve decision-making, enhance transparency, and contribute to the sustainability of marine resources. I would like to emphasize FAO's commitment to multilingual training and inclusive capacity development. So the courses currently are available in English, but they will be very soon, as of mid-2026, they will be available in French and Spanish. As a conclusion, I would like to say thank you to all for being interested and participate today, as well as for your commitment to advancing sustainable fisheries. We do need to work together for this objective, and this will preserve marine biodiversity, support livelihoods, and it will also contribute to strengthening global food security. I would like to wish you a very productive and inspiring event.
Thank you very much, Victoria, for those opening remarks and for the excellent information about how this program also fits into the broader mission and the broader work that we all need to do to ensure the sustainability of these resources. We will, of course, at the end have some time for question and answers, but just as a reminder, if anyone would like to submit any questions, you can use the Q&A box below to be able to provide them in writing, and we can try to ensure that the panelists will address those. Next, I would like to turn to Constanza Mattia, who is the Capacity Development and Learning Specialist with the FAO eLearning Academy. You have already heard her speaking at the beginning, and now she will present a little bit more on the work and the role of the FAO eLearning Academy. Constanza, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen. I saw that in the chat there were a couple of questions about the PowerPoint presentation, so I will have a really short presentation to introduce to you the FAO eLearning Academy. So the aim of the FAO eLearning Academy is to really guarantee access to education to everyone from everywhere. So to really democratize education. What we want to do during this webinar is to present to you these new certified free courses. And what we want to highlight is that through these courses, we want to transfer skills and competencies to everyone joining from everywhere. Indeed, you can access these courses again completely free of charge. What you have to do is to just register and to access the courses. And at the end of these courses, you will have a final assessment. So we assess your competencies, and you will receive a UN badge that you can share with your colleagues, but also your professors. And what we really want to do is to allow even people that are accessing from countries where access to internet is limited to see and use these resources. Indeed, even though your connection might be unstable, you can still access these resources. We aimed to allow everyone to access to the courses, also based on the fact that you need to have access to internet twice. So the first time to register to the FAO eLearning Academy and to download the courses, you can do the courses offline, and then you need for the second time access to internet to do the final certification. I see in the meantime, we're receiving some questions in the chat. Yes, the courses are certified, and even the certification is completely free of charge. We know that there are some resources available online that they are free, but in order to get the final certification, you have to pay a small fee. In this case, everything is completely free. And there is no time limitation in the sense that you can start these courses whenever you want, you can interrupt it, and then continue and do the final certification. We have a battery of questions. So in case you don't pass for the first time the final assessment, you can do it again. So far, we have been partnering with more than 1,000 partners worldwide, and our partners, they are universities, academia, for example. We developed more than 1,000 masters in collaboration with universities. So in case you are in charge of the development of any curricula, please do not hesitate to contact me. I will write my email in the chat and I will share with you even after this webinar, because in case you want to integrate these courses into your master degree, please let us know and we will see together which kind of course they really fit into your master program. We also collaborate with many UN agencies, the private sector, etc. And so far, we're able to offer more than 1,000 certified courses. All our courses are in English, and let's say about 80% of them are in Spanish and in French. And as Victoria mentioned earlier, the courses now are available in English, but they will be soon translated into French and Spanish. And then so far, we reached more than 1 million learners worldwide. So the aim, once again, is to guarantee the right to education to everyone, even people joining from countries where access to the education might be limited. We cover different thematic areas, and we have 25 thematic areas. So we cover, of course, fisheries, but also forestry, nutrition, the Sustainable Development Goals, etc. I will just stop sharing my presentation and just to give you an outlook of our eLearning Academy really quickly, how it looks like. So this is our page, the FAO eLearning Academy, and here in the section of courses, you can browse and look for courses based either on the keywords or search by thematic area. So in this case, you're gonna look for fisheries and aquaculture, submit, and you will have, as you can see, the list of the courses that we're launching today. I'm gonna click on one of them so you can see that this course is certified. And in order to complete the course, you need about an hour. Here, if you click, you can access the course, and here you can download the course. So once again, if your internet is a little bit unstable, you can do the course offline. Here you can evaluate the course, and this is really important for us, so you can provide feedback about the course. And then here you take the certification test. Here there is a small description about the audience and what you will learn about. And another important aspect is the structure of the course. So for example, this one is divided into 3 lessons. I will stop sharing my screen. I just want to repeat once again that these courses, they are really been developed by a range of stakeholders. So there are many people that collaborated in order to develop these courses. Some of them are online with us. Some of them, unfortunately, couldn't manage to attend, but it's really the result of collaboration between technical experts around the world. So please feel free to take a look at our courses and share with your colleagues. And it's really, really important for us. I think that's it from my side. If you have any questions about the Learning Academy, please write in the Q&A, and I'm here ready to answer to all of your questions. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Costanza, for that overview and for showing us the resources and emphasizing that these courses are free. They're accessible from anywhere, anytime, and indeed they are certified at the end of the day. Let's move on now to our last introductory speaker, who can share with us a little bit more about what management procedures actually are, how they're being used in different regional fisheries management organizations, and introduce a little bit more of the substance of the e-learning course that brings us together today. So I would like to introduce you to Shana Miller, who is the Project Director for International Fisheries Conservation at the Ocean Foundation, who will provide us with some additional remarks and some more information on those topics. So Shana, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Deirdre, and hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you can see my screen. I have the pleasure to be here today to talk a little bit about what a management procedure is, a little bit about the global policy landscape where these are being applied and developed, and a few more details about the e-learning course that brings us all together today. So many of you are already management procedure experts, but for those of you who are new to it, what is an MP that this course is about? So it's also called a harvest strategy, and it's essentially a pre-agreed framework for making fishery management decisions. So figuring out how many fish you can catch before starting to fish. So agreeing to the rules for fishing before going out on the water. MSE, or Management Strategy Evaluation, is the tool we use to develop MPs. And it's an important tool in that it allows us to take our objectives for the fishery and then decide what management procedure would best meet those objectives given all the uncertainties in a fishery system, be it ecological uncertainties or uncertainties about the fishery. So there are three core components of a management procedure. We talk about management procedures being a very adaptive and dynamic management approach in that it can respond to what's happening in the fishery. And so we have a feedback loop of three core components of a management procedure. First, collecting data so we can monitor the fishery. Second of all, a method to evaluate those data and analyze those data to estimate some sort of indicator of stock status, how healthy is the fishery under this management procedure. And then based on that estimate of stock status, a harvest control rule, which sets the fishing opportunities, be it a catch limit, an effort limit, or some other type of management strategy. So the harvest control rule, or HCR, is really the operational part of a management procedure that sets your fishing levels. So we think about management procedures as really an evolution from traditional stock assessment based management. And so just looking at the benefits, and Victoria mentioned a few of them in her introductory remarks, but because they're pre-agreed frameworks, they increase the transparency and predictability of the fishery. Because you can set broad objectives for your management procedure, you can increase the stability of your fishery for both the fishing industry as well as the seafood market. With your management strategy evaluation, you can better account for natural variability and uncertainties in the system. And because, again, we can look at multiple management objectives, it allows you to manage your risk and balance trade-offs in those objectives. The most classic trade-off is, of course, maximizing the health of your fish population while also maximizing, the catch in your fishery. Because they're pre-agreed, they can help to avoid costly and politicized negotiations. Again, because it's a pre-agreed, almost formulaic approach to management, there's a very clear process for setting scientific advice. And this feedback loop that we saw and this kind of automatic management, more automatic management under HCR allows swift and efficient management in both directions. So it helps to ensure resource health in that if the stock goes down, you can quickly reduce fishing levels. But similarly, if the stock grows, you can also quickly increase fishing opportunities to help ensure industry profitability. You can use these tools for both data-rich and data-limited fisheries. And then it is an effective and accepted application of the precautionary approach, which is required by the UN Fish Stocks Agreement and other domestic and international agreements, as well as seafood certification labels like the Marine Stewardship Council. So these are just some of the benefits of an MP approach. Where are these being applied? They are applied in 12 stocks across the 5 regional fishery management organizations dedicated to tunas, which you'll see on the screen here. So these are the stocks that have management procedures that have been adopted. And so you can see the progress at the different tuna RFMOs is not equivalent, but they all have at least one adopted MP. And when you look at from a landings perspective, 54% of tunas globally come from stocks that have an adopted management procedure. When you look at the management procedures in development, there are even more stocks joining with these species and stocks management procedures scheduled to be adopted this year, next year, and the following year. And in fact, there are MSEs, the MP development process. There are MSEs planned for all but one of the commercially important tuna stocks, of which there are 23. And so because of that, we are partnering with some members of the seafood supply chain on an initiative called All Tunas 2028, where we would have MPs adopted for all tuna stocks by the end of 2028. It's, of course, not just a approach that's applied to tunas. At the general tuna RFMOs, which you see on the screen here, we have a number of MPs that are in place. And 2 of the RFMOs with the blue stars that do not currently have adopted MSE tested management procedures in place, we could have them in place as early as this year. And even CIAFO has harvest control rules, but they are not MSE tested. So that's why I don't feature them here. But it's not just international fisheries. These are also being applied in domestic fisheries, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, some of the early champions and developers of this approach. So now just to conclude a little bit of a spotlight on the management procedure e-learning course that brings us all here. There are 5 courses in the series, and so those are highlighted on the screen here. Each course has up to 3 lessons, and so we have an introductory course that talks about the different MP elements with a spotlight on harvest control rules. The second course on setting the vision talks about how you decide what you want your management procedure to achieve. And so it's about management objectives, reference points, performance indicators. The third course is the most technical. It's on the management strategy evaluation tool used to develop management procedures. The fourth one is the most fun. It's the training adventure. That's a very interactive course that I'll get into in a second. And then finally, lessons learned is the final course, which talks about, best practices for development and implementation of management procedures, as well as lessons that we've learned about, pros and cons of some of the management procedures that have been adopted to date. And each of these courses takes about an hour or an hour and a half. So a look at some of the course features in this management procedure course. It's a scenario-based learning, interactive learning course. And so you have a team of, you'll see some of the characters on the screen here that walks you through at your own pace the different courses. And there are a number of questions, little quizzes throughout to test your understanding. Lots of interactive features on the screen. And as Costanza mentioned and others mentioned, you get a FAO eLearning Academy badge once you've completed each of the courses. So like I said, the fourth course is kind of the most fun. It's an interactive game where you are this gentleman here, you're a fishery manager who's developing a management procedure. You can navigate around your research vessel where you're developing this MP. You can go out into the community and meet with stakeholders. You work with your fisheries scientists on board the vessel to develop an MP, first for mahi-mahi in your island country, and then for big eye tuna at a regional fishery management organization. So it's a video game. If you have kids, even your kids would love it. So definitely recommend checking that out. It has a lot of really impressive animation elements in it. And so just to conclude, the e-learning series, we have 5 courses, 14 lessons, over 6.5 hours of content. It will help you learn how to develop and implement MPs. Really important, as we keep hearing, it's a free course that offers UN certification. We'll have the French and Spanish modules up by the middle of this year. And importantly, also for those countries and regions that are interested in having more customized trainings following taking the course, either in person or virtual, that is a potential option. And if anyone's interested in that, please email me directly. I will put my contact information in the chat. And so with that, I just want to say a huge thank you for the team from around the world that helped to develop and review and implement this course. It's been just a privilege to work with everyone, and I hope everyone is very proud of the course in its final form. And so with that, I will pass it back to Deirdre. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shana, for that excellent overview of both some of the substance, but also specifically the course. And indeed, I hope that has provided enough of a appetite whetter that everyone who is participating here will now be anxious to launch the courses and see what they look like. Before we move into our panel discussion, we're going to have a second poll, which is looking to get a little bit more information about the experience that participants in today's webinar have had with MPs. So I noticed that we are moving quickly through our process today, but also want to make sure that we have lots of time for the discussion and the questions. So I will turn it over to Costanza to briefly introduce the poll. And then while you are all completing the poll, I might provide a few remarks to help frame our panel discussion afterwards. So Costanza, go ahead and launch the poll, please.
Thank you. I just launched the poll. I don't know if you can see that. Even for this one, you're going to have 3 questions. And the first one will be with multiple choice rather than the second, and the third one is just single choice. And once again, this is to know a little bit more about you. In the meantime, I'm gonna take this chance to answer to a message that we received in the chat. Yes, the webinar is recorded and we will share with you the PowerPoint presentations that Shanna and I presented and the recording. So don't worry about that. You will have about a minute to answer to these 3 questions, so we have a better understanding about you, especially if you already took these courses or not, if you took some of them, if you were not aware of them. I guess this is really the right place to be right now.
While you are completing the polls, let me offer a little bit of information about the next part of this webinar, where we will invite a number of experts from a range of backgrounds, a range of affiliations, and a range of experiences to share with us some of their practical experiences with management procedures, and what they can do and what they can bring to the process of ensuring that our fisheries are sustainable. So there will be a number of individuals who will answer some questions that will offer their varying perspectives and lessons. We'll give them about 3 minutes to answer those questions that I will pose to them to start. And then, as noted at the end, we'll be able to open the floor more broadly and take questions from participants on the other issues that you may be interested to learn more about. I'll also note we have received a number of questions in the Q&A box, and so we'll keep those in mind as well. And in addition to the recording of this webinar and the PowerPoints, as Costanza noted, there will be a summary of some of the questions and answers that will also be available after this webinar. So we will make sure that everybody has the information they need to understand. So with that, I think we've had enough time for everyone to complete the poll. We can go ahead and close it. Take a quick look at the results. So looking at what we see here in terms of experience that we see in terms of the range of fisheries, it's fairly evenly distributed among those who are working primarily with tunas, with groundfish, with small pelagics, and other small-scale coastal fisheries. But we also have a fairly decent percentage of participants here who are not directly involved in fisheries. And so we particularly welcome you here because we always think that fish issues are the best issues, and we're always happy to expose new people to those. We also see that generally the participants here have some experience with management procedures, but not a lot here who are very experienced. So perfect. This will be your opportunity to learn a lot more. And likewise, it seems that we have a mix of experiences in terms of using the e-learning courses as well. So thanks very much for sharing your information on those questions. And I think that's really helpful framing as we launch into the substance. So I'd like to pose a question to our first speaker, who is joining us from the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries in the Government of Japan, Mr. Shingo Ota. Welcome, Shingo. Very good to see you. Japan plays a key role in a number of RFMOs. So, Shingo, how have MPs helped improve trust and cooperation among RFMO members, and especially in some of the more historically contentious negotiations? What's your perspective and experience on that?
Thank you, Diadora. As you said, TAC decision is sometimes very contentious. For example, TAC was not agreed for southern bluefin tuna in the 1990s. The scientific committee was very politicized, and the annual meeting was very adversary. The conflict among its members was ultimately brought to international courts. After the CCSBT established MP in 2011, no such conflict has happened, and the atmosphere of annual meetings greatly improved. Another example is Atlantic bluefin tuna. In the early 2000s, ICAT set tax much higher than the recommended levels. This led to the CITES Appendix 1 listing proposal in 2010, after which ICAT followed the scientific recommendation. When the stock started to recover, however, the tax decision became difficult again. Managers and stakeholders expected to see tax increase, while scientists were more precautionary. Then ICAT established MP in 2022, which greatly improved the operation of the Commission and the cooperation among members. The NPFC, or North Pacific Fishery Commission, used to spend much time in deciding the TAC for Pacific Sorry, and the agreed TAC ignored science until 2023. In 2024, the NPFC established HCRs and no longer had to spend much time on the TAC in 2024 and 2025. As a result, the NPFC was able to spend more time on other important issues. As such, MPs or HCRs really helped RFMOs agree on science-based tax and improved the operation of annual meetings. MPs or HCRs greatly improved cooperation among RFMO members because members do not have to fight over tax levels. We must admit, however, that the real challenge is allocation. Also, the capacity of managers and stakeholders to understand MSEs or HCRs is still not enough. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I saw miscommunication between scientists and managers at the Pacific Sorry MSE meeting. Managers said that the recommended TAC for 2026 is different from the simulation results. Scientists said that the real TAC could be different from the simulation. The exactly same thing happened at the CCSBT in 2019. In conclusion, while MPs or HCRs improved operation of RFMOs and the cooperation among members, RFMOs must agree on allocation. Otherwise, the TAC calculated based on MPs or HCRs would be meaningless. Also, capacity building of managers and stakeholders is still important if MSE is to become the basic and general tool for tax decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Shingo, for sharing those observations from a range of different RFMOs in different contexts, and also highlighting some of the key lessons and important issues that have come up no matter where these have been discussed, and especially the issue around capacity building, but especially just building understanding and trust and ensuring that there's clear communication between all of the participants in this process, the scientists, the managers, and the stakeholders. Let's turn now to one of the other RFMOs, which has had some experience in implementing management procedures. I'd like to pose my next question to Ria Moss-Christian, who is the Executive Director of the Western Central Pacific Fisheries Commission. Ria, a question for you. The Western Central Pacific holds some of the world's most valuable tuna stocks. So can you give us some examples of how management procedures have helped WCPFC strike that balance between conservation objectives and the socioeconomic priorities of small island developing states? Ria, welcome, please, and look forward to hearing your information.
Thank you, Deidre, and a very good evening to all of the webinar participants from WCPFC headquarters in Pohnpei, Federated States of Micronesia. We can see this balance of conservation and socioeconomic priorities in the WCPFC's skipjack management procedure. This was adopted in 2022, and the MP contains conservation parameters in the form of reference points and acceptable risk levels. And we can see it in the objectives of the MP that protect the interests of SIDS and the socioeconomic interests in particular by providing relative stability in the fishing levels between management periods. So, for example, avoiding too much variability and allowing in the allowable fishing levels. When you take this course, this e-learning course, if you haven't already, you'll learn early on that the management objectives is the first step of developing the MP. And for the WCPFC, the development of management objectives took place through a series of workshops that considered objectives across 4 categories. Those categories were biological, economic, social, and ecosystem. And the articulation of management objectives across this range of categories is the approach that allowed for the priorities of SIDS around the social and economic needs to be reflected in the MP that was adopted. And at the same time, the target reference point for the MP, which is articulated and structured in biological terms, is done so in a way that can achieve the priorities for SIDS, especially around ensuring that fishing activities are maintained at a level that supports economic development priorities. One important component of the Skipjack MP is one of the 5 annexes that is focused on the special requirements of developing states to ensure that the MP doesn't transfer a disproportionate burden of conservation action onto developing states, and SIDS in particular. And then the MP also allows for what is called exceptional circumstances, where where expectations are not met, for example, relating to stock changes in stock abundance or changes in the availability of data, might require an adjustment to the MP components. But all of these function as a package, along with a monitoring strategy to ensure that the MP is operating as intended. And because the WCPFC has a majority membership of small island developing states and covers a management area that is predominantly exclusive economic zones, the component of ensuring that the MP is supporting the goals of SIDS is paramount. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria, for that experience from the Western Central Pacific and being able to explain a little bit better how that process can work in terms of determining the trade-offs, but also ensuring that the various needs and priorities of a wide range of participants in the fishery can be effectively addressed and worked through in developing the management procedures. We heard Chinko mention the experience and the success story that was the application of management procedures for the southern bluefin fishery. So next I would like to turn to Brian Jeffries, who is the former CEO of the Australian Southern Bluefin Tuna Industry Association and chair of the SA Seafood Cost Recovery Committee, to give us a little bit more of a perspective on that process. As we noted and was highlighted, this is a success story for management procedures. So from the industry standpoint, what were the most tangible benefits that the stakeholders received from the successful implementation of the management procedures in that southern bluefin fishery? Economic, operational, social, any others? Happy to hear, excuse me, your perspective on that, Brian.
But the Australian system is based significantly on quotas, and people invest in those quotas. Banks loan the money. The southern bluefin tuna fishery in Australia, the industry was generally bankrupt, and because banks just wouldn't loan the money to develop value adding, which we did in the end through farming the fish and things like that. So the most important, I think, community benefit, and that's an important issue in countries like Indonesia and some of the Indian Ocean areas, as well as the Western Pacific, of course. It's the ability to say, you know, I can invest in a boat, or my family can stay in Australia stay in the Western Pacific to work and raise families rather than migrating to Australia. Now, that's putting a big perspective on it. The issue for Australia, and this is what we've now, I think, convinced our government, our sphere of influence as a middle power, so to speak, is in the Western Pacific and the Indian Ocean. And the Western Pacific particularly is totally dependent on fisheries for its income, for its development, etc. And now, if there's instability there, if we don't have things like harvest strategies being used there, every time there's a hiccup in the Western Pacific, some of us really feel it in where we shouldn't be feeling it, because it's a threat to Australia, not just to the Western Pacific and Indian Ocean. Just getting on to why SBT is a success story, it's really due to the scientists. So I could say we, as political animals, did the right thing in 2011 and came to the right conclusions, as Chingo said, etc. But that was egged by the best science you could ever imagine. And that's one of the troubles I'm facing on cost recovery in Australia, because we're implementing these systems in every small fishery, in every state, etc. Now that can be costly. Now, how do you get payback? Now, how the CCSBT did it well was having 3-year fixed quotas, and there was a set criteria for the quota to be increased at the end of that period. And as a result, the quota has doubled in effectively 10 years, and these fisheries on the path to sustainability. So, it's a great story, but sometimes, despite what Shingo said, a bit of it was accidental. I remember the particular scientific committee where it was finally agreed, and that was right on the edge. So now the world is the beneficiary, and it's great. But the concerns in Australia are still about cost. You know, if you're going to have this quality of science, and you're going to have what, you know, we call next kin technology, which Indonesia has been very cooperative on, but is costly. So how do you pay for it? Now, in tuna, we pay for it because it's a high price commodity. We now farm the wild fish that we capture. It's just a great story, and has only come about by the stability of quotas, and that's through the stability of the system. So it's again a great story. The MSC evolution, etc. Now, that's an important step forward for the whole fishery. But to Japan's great credit, these systems are only as good as the compliance system around them. And Japan has been very cooperative in and the United States particularly, is basically a small consumer, have been very cooperative in actually implementing import control systems, monitoring systems, which have kept the discipline going. But I just get back to the point again. This is a very important issue for the Australian government in total, you know, because it's really our two spheres of influence are significantly dependent on fisheries and the stability. And the next cab off the rank is Indonesia. Indonesia is looking at developing, using this more widely and developing a quota system. So, you know, whichever way you look, it's in Australia's interest. As a total country, not just internally within Australia. Last, I'd just like to congratulate the Common Oceans program. When this was first mooted 10 years ago, Shona, a lot of us said it was going to be the same old story. FAO was not that good at implementing things. It's a great success story. And this program is one which will, I think, sustain with enthusiasm for things like the type of scientific work that's required. So thanks, and we were wrong about how successful this would be, and congratulations on the whole certificate program. Thanks.
Thanks, Brian, and appreciate the perspective and a number of the key themes that you hit, including the question of stability and the way that the fisheries management issues can be so important beyond just being able to catch fish or sell fish, but can sometimes be the backbone of a regional economy and vitally important to different countries. So the ability to develop tools that can help ensure the sustainability and the stability from the management perspective, but also from the industry perspective, is so important. So let's move to a different ocean and pivot now to the Indian Ocean. We also have on our panel here Hussein Sinan, who is the Director General of Ministry of Fisheries and Ocean Resources in the Republic of Maldives. So the Maldives are also another country in a region that are hugely dependent on tuna fisheries for food security and livelihoods. So we've seen that management procedures have been successfully implemented in the Indian Ocean Tuna Commission. So how have those contributed to the long-term planning and risk mitigation for your national fisheries? And how do you think FAO's e-learning courses could support national ministries like yours in preparing negotiators, analysts, and policymakers to participate effectively in their development?
Thank you, Didier. As mentioned, Maldives tuna fisheries is not just an industry. It provides supports to over 20,000 jobs and contributes to a significant contribution to the GDP and economy itself, and also provides an essential protein to our communities. So for us, as a reason, we've been working with the Commission to mitigate the risk and improve planning. We submitted a proposal in 2016 to establish a technical committee to work with the managers in developing a management procedure. And as a result, harvest control rule was adopted in 2016 for skipjack, and a full MP was developed in 2024. And this brings a long-term planning tool, and then also provides a multi-year predictability. As a small island developing state, which also requires significant investment in terms of developing the fishery, this provides that stability that investors requires, that they could plan for the return for their investment, and that brings as a result stock health as well, and confidence for both fishermen, the fisheries processors, and the industry as a whole. So on risk mitigation, MPs also embed buffers against overexploitation, as mentioned. Those achievements as a result provides stability to the entire process. However, as Shingo mentioned, I think the agreement on MPs is half of the process, or when we go into baking, it's just half baked. The future, the allocation part on how we divide the cake and based on the TAC is also as important as agreeing on the MPs. However, the management procedures or MSC process really eliminates the political negotiations around the TACs. But all of these requires skilled hands, skilled knowledge, and many developing nations, in particular, including ours, struggle with the technical demands of the MP development, from data modeling to even negotiations on what's the best tuning criteria, for example. So here's what the FAO's new e-learning series would shine, I believe, and this accessible platform could equip ministries and tailor modules on MP fundamentals, as shown by Shanna. And we believe this would also bridge knowledge gaps, empower us, and not just to participate, but also foster equitable global governance in terms of highly migratory species and also straddling fish stocks. On a closing note, I would emphasize that the most crucial contribution of MPs is the sustainable management of these resources. And I thank you.
Thank you very much for that perspective and for highlighting the issue that management procedures are a vital and very effective tool for developing the broad-scale fisheries measures, especially for establishing total allowable catches. But they're not a magic bullet. They can't make allocation decisions, and they can't address every issue. But they can take away at least some of the struggles that might go into those political discussions and allow countries and different user groups to focus on those other bits that need to be resolved. And so I think that's a really important point as well. Thank you. So we've heard a lot in all of the responses about the role of science and how the importance of good science as an underpinning for management procedures, but also the way that the management procedure process can help reinforce the scientific process. So next, I would like to turn to Hilario Marua, who is the senior scientist at the International Seafood Sustainability Foundation, and ask him if he can share from the scientific community's perspective, how do MPs improve the robustness and they account for the uncertainties in management decisions and the scientific advice that underpins them? Hilario?
Thank you, Idra, for the question. Part of it has been addressed by Shana, so I will try not to repeat much. So from the scientific community perspective, management procedures fundamentally change how we deal with uncertainty in fisheries management. Instead of pretending the future is predictable or trying to eliminate uncertainty, which we know isn't possible, management procedures are explicitly designed to recognize uncertainty and deal with it in a structured, transparent way. A simple way to think about this is driving a car. You are not always on a clear highway with perfect weather and light traffic. Conditions change constantly. So because of that, you rely on instruments, clear rules, and built-in safeguards, such as speed limits, headlights, and brakes, to stay safe even when visibility is poor or conditions deteriorate. Management procedures work in a much the same way. Scientifically, a management procedure brings together data, assessment methods, and pre-agreed decision rules into a single framework that is tested before it is used. Through simulation testing, what we call management strategy evaluation, scientists examine how the system performs under many different driving conditions or sources of uncertainty. These sources of uncertainty include uncertainty in species biology, for example, growth rates. We don't know what is the growth of the species. Recruitment, the number of new individuals entering the population each year, which is always highly variable. Natural mortality and even uncertainty in implementation of the management measures, for example, whether the catch is fully complied with in practice. This is where robustness comes from. Instead of relying on one assumed best stock assessment model or of how a stock behaves, management procedures are selected because the management performs well across a wide range of possible scenarios. The objective is not to be perfect under one set of assumptions, but to be robust and to avoid poor outcomes, such as stock collapse or highly unstable and variable catches when those assumptions turn out to be wrong. Another key feature is that the rules are agreed in advance, as Shana mentioned. Just as a car automatically adjusts to worsening conditions, management procedures adjust management actions through harvest control rules as the stock status indicators change. In the tuna world where I'm coming from, we are already seeing the benefits of this approach. 15 years ago, only 70% of the total global tuna catches came from healthy stocks. And today, an unprecedented 97% of the global tuna catch comes from healthy stocks. And of course, management procedures have played a significant role in this progress, with nearly half of the global tuna catch now coming from stocks managed using management procedures. And notably, the GEF-funded Common Oceans Tuna Project, implemented by FAO in collaboration with the all 5 tuna reformers, has helped enable this progress by strengthening cooperation, technical capacity, and the development of management procedure across regions. And the eLearning course is an example of this. So to sum up, from a scientific perspective, management procedures improve robustness by addressing uncertainty, testing decisions before they are applied, and embedding precaution directly into the system, allowing fisheries management to stay on course even when the road ahead is uncertain. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hilario, for that answer and for highlighting the important aspect of management procedures, which is the testing and the robustness. So not just making a decision that is a point analysis, but instead ensuring that a range of possible realities in the ocean, a range of possible outcomes can be considered, and we can make decisions with all of those in mind instead of just hoping for one possible outcome, which is a very important point. Next, I would like to point a question to Laura Rodriguez, who is the head of species strategies and pathways with the Marine Stewardship Council. Laura, the Marine Stewardship Council certification increasingly recognizes management procedures as the benchmark for sustainable fisheries. What drove the MSC to take this step, and why are management procedures so important for ensuring long-term sustainability of RFMO managed species?
Thank you, Chair, and I would like to congratulate the FAO and the Common Ocean Project for this great initiative that we are fully supportive. To answer the question, I would like to briefly explain that Marine Stewardship Council was founded to implement the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. So management from the beginning has been a core part of how the sustainable fishery is defined in our standard. Any fishery aiming to meet the MSC fisheries standard must demonstrate that operates in a healthy stock, that minimize the impact on the ecosystem, and has an effective management in place. So any fishery in the program has some sort of harvest control rules, harvest strategy in some form. But it's in tuna where we have seen that management procedures are a critical tool to ensure the sustainability, conservation, the long-term conservation of these emblematic species. And the reasons have been already mentioned. I'm not going to repeat, but this pre-agreed framework is really important to make sure that we can react with these pre-agreed decisions once we have evidence, scientific evidence that the stock is declining. So all the reasons, additional reasons has been already mentioned. What I would like to highlight is that the way the management is assessed in our standard has been evolving over time. And through the 25 years of implementation of the MSc program in fisheries, we received some important lessons learned. One is that adopting harvest control rules in a 5-year cycle, which is the cycle of the MSc certification, can be a challenge. Another important lesson is that having a harvest control rule without catch or effort constraint makes that harvest control rules cannot be efficient, especially if it is not based on the scientific information. So having this in mind, it was agreed in the last revision of the MSc standard to give more time for the adoption of the harvest strategies, but at the same time increase the level of performance that is required. And tuna fisheries have to meet state-of-the-art harvest strategies if they want to continue in the program. This is a high bar, and we can say that the fisheries have raised to this challenge, and we have seen in the last year very important milestones in which it's a collective effort that has been achieved, of course, with the state delegates working together with fisheries engaged in the MSc program, with scientific advisors, with the industry leaders, and also other NGOs working in this field. One of these milestones has been already mentioned is the achievement of the state-of-the-art harvest strategies for the skipjack in the Western Central Pacific Ocean, also the Northern Pacific albacore adoption for management procedure with Western Central Pacific and the IATCC, the IATCC, and also the Southern Pacific albacore, which was recently adopted. And it's very encouraging to see how the MSc program is contributing to these international efforts, and more fisheries are engaged in our program in tuna, with today more than 60% of the global tuna catches for the more important commercial species are engaged. Also to see that all these efforts are endorsed by the supply chain, which increasingly and demanding certified products coming from well-managed fisheries. But challenges remain. More management procedures need to be adopted for new species and implemented in RFMOs, and it's critical that all the decisions at RFMO level continue to be science-based. And last, just to say that Marine Stewardship Council continues to be very committed to support this effort of improved management through our certification and pre-certification tools like the MSc Improvement and the Pathway Program. We are also very proactive on capacity building around harvest strategies, harvest control rules, and through our Ocean Stewardship Fund, we are also supporting actions, research related to harvest strategies and harvest control rules, for example, with the Atlantic Southern albacore, which is now starting the process of an MSc. So all very aligned with these e-learning tools and e-learning series. So looking forward to see how this contributes to better management worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for that global perspective. And so let's move now to a little bit more of a regional perspective. My next panelist is Bernal Chavarria, who is an attorney at law who serves as the coordinator of fisheries management and policy for the Central American Fisheries and Aquaculture Organization, OSPESCA. OSPESCA includes a number of different countries that have diverse capacities, priorities, and governance. And likewise, OSPESCA engages, and OSPESCA and its membership engage in a number of different RFMOs. So drawing on your experience, Bernal, to these different RFMOs and within OSPESCA, what have you seen as the biggest challenges of bringing together these different capacities and priorities and governance contexts, but also what have been some promising opportunities that have come from the adoption and use of management procedures in this context? Bernal?
Yeah, thank you, Deidre, and thanks everyone for this, and most of all, thanks for the FAO for these courses. We definitely understand how important these courses are, and for a region like ours, this is not only relevant but completely necessary. And yeah, you're tackling on a very important matters. What are the biggest challenges that we can identify? It's first and most, as we have been dealing with in a system where every certain period of time we review and revise the different management measures, and we have trusted so far that using this methodology it has a point where the stocks are healthy. So to make a change in accepting pre-agreed rules that, of course, although based on science, are aligned with the best interests of the countries, this is very important, and most of all to ensure that from the very beginning, the socioeconomic factors and variables are inserted in the process. With that in mind, of course, that is going to be a huge challenge, and that is actually the main difficulty that we can figure if the managers are set aside in the process to understand how the MPs are considered to be feasible in the future. Now, in all of this in mind, I think that the key challenge is understanding the process. Basically, if we just consider what have happened in the AITTC, where we had already a harvest control rule, but there was a monitoring harvest control rule, an interim harvest control rule, and not a full set of management procedures yet. We were comfortable in adopting that. But now if we're going to make a shift on this kind of new system of governance, of course, understanding the process is a key matter whereby we need to align the common understanding on the fisheries between scientists, managers, and relevant stakeholders to compromise fairly and insert the socioeconomic variables and very important, how to deal with a multi-stock, multi-gear, multi-fleet fisheries that we have to work. Usually when we review and revise the management measures, we consider the whole set of facts. And so we cannot just rely on the, let's say, the best available science. If by science, we only consider the biological science, there are other sciences that need to be inserted in there. Now, the most promises and opportunities that we find if we do it the right work is a better insertion of the good available science in the whole process and the creation and ongoing constant dialogue that helps to improve management. Of course, that would be a plus. And that's an opportunity if we insert in this process, and and what we all expect is to enhance the assurances that of the reliability of the management measures. You understand that, of course, our region has different diverse capacities, priorities, and governance context. But in our region, in OSPESCA, we have found a common ground on understanding that responsible fisheries is what needs to lead us to the point of coming together the different tuna FMOs. So agreeing and adopting measures is not a problem. It's to ensure that whatever we put in the package for the assessment and the analysis, it's robust and enough. I think that we need to consider that this is a strong change, and we need to both convince that the turn is necessary, but also to ensure that it's fully participatory in the process. With all that in mind, we of course can see that this is a good step ahead in the management of the fisheries that we need to engage correctly and appropriately. Thank you, Deirdre. I hope I have answered your questions.
Thank you, Bernal, and yes, thank you again. We are hearing consistent themes, which are about the complexity of the management challenge, but the possibility of using the structure under management procedures to be able to take into account all of those complexities and devise management measures that can include those trade-offs, but only when it is built on trust and understanding and dialogue. And I think those are really important themes that we've heard from a number of speakers, no matter which context they come from. So next I would like to point a question to Mr. Bertrand Vandling, who is the Director General of Southern Producers Organization in France. So from a fisheries producer's perspective, getting back to that question of stability and predictability, how have you seen that play out for fishing companies that are operating under multi-year management plans? And how do you think this e-learning course that FAO has launched might help the producer organizations better understand the science and engage more proactively in the development process for management procedures? Bertrand?
Bonjour à tous. Donc aujourd'hui, oui, je suis responsable d'une organisation de
Hello,
producteurs
everyone.
qui est
Yes,
basée
I
dans
am
le
in
sud de
charge
la
of a
France,
producer
avec
organization which is
environ
based
100
in the
navires
south
de
of
pêche.
France and with
Notre
more than
organisation
100
gère environ
fishing
80% du
boats.
quota de
We
thon
manage
rouge en
about
Méditerranée
80%
française,
of the
place au cœur des
quota
enjeux
for
de la gouvernance de
bluefin
ces pêcheries.
tuna, which means we're at
Pêcherie
the
de thon
heart
rouge
of
à la
the
ligne,
challenges for
en
this
2019
fishery.
ou en 2020,
The
la première pêcherie au
bluefin
monde
tuna
à
in
avoir une double
2016 and
reconnaissance à la
2020
certification
was the first one
MSC
to be
et puis les deux labels
MSC
français pêche durable.
certified twice, and
L'existence d'une
the
procédure de gestion
sustainable
robuste
fishing
fondée sur la science est
criteria
inscrite
for
dans un cadre
France.
international clair, celui d'ICCAT,
We
faisait partie
work
intégrante des
with
conditions d'obtention
the
de ces
following the
certifications.
criteria defined
Aujourd'hui,
by
le
ICCAT,
maintien de ces reconnaissances repose
ISSC, which was
directement sur
necessary to
la
obtain
solidité
the
des procédures de
certification. This
gestion mises en
certification
œuvre au sein des organisations
relies
régionales de
on the
pêche,
robustness
l'ICCAT en
of the
l'occurrence.
measures
Et pour nos
implemented within
producteurs,
the
ces procédures apportent
RFMOs.
de la
And for us
stabilité dans le temps,
producers, these
une
procedures
prévisibilité
give us
économique
a
et une
predictability,
vraie valeur
economic
ajoutée tangible tout au
predictability,
long de la
and
chaîne de commercialisation.
added
Donc, en
value
aboutissant
throughout the
d'atteindre les
whole
objectifs de gestion durable
food
marqués par ces
chain,
plans.
and to also
Mais il faut être
meet
lucide,
the
les procédures de gestion
sustainable
sont
management
complexes,
of
elles
the
sont
resource.
ni
The
intuitives
management
ni faciles
procedures
à
are
s'approprier, et
complex and
pour les
not
acteurs de terrain
easy
comme nous,
to
l'information
use. We
devient
need a
une
better
étape
ownership,
indispensable
and
pour
this is why
permettre aux
training
organisations de
is
producteurs de
very
comprendre des
important
évaluations
to
scientifiques,
enable the
des
producer
scénarios de
organizations
gestion
to
et
be
des
able
règles de
to
décision, et de
understand
s'engager de
the
manière
whole
constructive et
process and
crédible dans
to
dans
participate
les procédures
fully and
élaborées.
proactively in the
Ces outils de
processes
formation
of the
permettent aux
RFMOs. These
organisations de producteurs de
training
passer d'une
courses
posture
enable the
réactive à une
producer
participation
organizations
éclairée
to
en
uh,
comprenant les
fully
évaluations, les
participate
stratégies de
by
gestion, mais aussi
understanding
les
the
incertitudes et les
management
arbitrages avant que
procedures,
les
the
décisions soient prises.
trade-offs
Pour conclure,
before
je
the
dirais que
decisions are
dans un
taken. And to
contexte
conclude, I would like to say
international
that in
où
an
la
international
gestion
context
fondée
where
sur la science
the
peut parfois être fragilisée
science-based
par des
management
conditions
can
et
sometimes be
considérations court terme,
jeopardized by
pour nous, organisations de
short-term
producteurs, il est
considerations. For
essentiel que la
us, a
communauté
producer
scientifique,
organization,
les
it's really
gestionnaires,
important that
mais
the
aussi l'ensemble de la
scientific
filière de
community,
production et
managers,
de
and the whole
commercialisation
of the
restent pleinement
stakeholders
mobilisés pour défendre des
stay
décisions
fully
transparentes,
engaged
prévisibles
to
et
defend
scientifiquement étayées.
predictable
C'est
and
à nos yeux et aux miens
decisions
une
based
véritable
on
condition sine
science.
pour
This
la
is
viabilité de nos
key
pêcheries.
to the sustainability of our fisheries. Thank you.
Merci. Thank you very much for that answer and that perspective, which again reiterates the importance of engagement and understanding and dialogue among all of the participants, the science side, the management side, and the stakeholder side in developing and using these tools. So I would like to pick up from that point and for the specific context of ICAT and turn a question to Mr. Camille Manel, who is the Executive Secretary of the International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, ICAT. ICAT has made significant progress in developing these management procedures and doing it through a robust dialogue process. And so what lessons can other RFMOs draw from ICAT's model of science manager dialogue? And how do you think this e-learning course can also help support that process as well? Mr. Manel?
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente, et la modératrice.
Thank you very much, Deirdre. ICAT is formally participating in management procedures since 2015 with 7 processes which are underway. 4 have already benefited from a management procedure which has been adopted. These processes have strengthened an inclusive and interactive dialogue, transparent and mutually beneficial between scientists, managers, and other stakeholders, as is necessary for the proper management of fisheries. ICAT is the regional organization which has the highest number of members, with 55 parties and 4 cooperating parties, with a very high number of developing countries, has been developing management procedures and gained experience on constructive dialogue. These exchanges have taken place during webinars and specific workshops dedicated to management procedures, organized at the various steps of these procedures. In particular, for bluefin tuna in the Mediterranean and the Eastern Atlantic, has been used as a reference for other processes. We must use a process which took long to mature and which was very successful since and has been since 2022. The need to strengthen these capacities for management procedures has been underlined several times, which means we also need scientists from developing countries to be more involved in the procedure, as the previous speakers already said. Also, to improve the efficiency of this process, it would be necessary to strengthen the sharing of information, documents, tools, and methods before the meetings, and in particular, the ICAT content. We have a site dedicated to MSC with various tools which are accessible, and also the ones from the online training course of the of FARO, which is what is why we are gathered today. This course, this FAO course, is an important resource to strengthen the exchanges between scientists and managers, and also for the various stakeholders. The accessibility of these resources, although they are available on websites, is an important aspect. These resources need to be available, and the fact that they are available only on dedicated websites is not enough. We need more dissemination of this information, as is done today. We need to improve the communication and dissemination of these tools, make them more accessible, more easily accessible, to strengthen capacities. This is a new process, and it is very technical, which is why capacities must be strengthened to reach our ambitions and to make this new management, management procedures more effective. That is I wanted to say for ICCAT, and thank you very much.
Merci, Mademoiselle. Pardon me, merci, Manel. And yes, the point about the importance of ensuring that we have all these great tools, but making sure that they get in the hands of the people who need them, and great information, and making sure that it's available to all of those who need to have that information to participate in this process. And so thank you for sharing ICCAT's experience of how that's worked and how it might work to dovetail with this new e-learning course. I'd like to turn my last question to Rachel Hopkins, who is the Director of International Fisheries and Aquaculture for the Pew Charitable Trusts. Rachel, Pew has long championed precautionary science-based fisheries management. So what motivated Pew to invest so heavily in management procedure development? And in your experience, have management procedures really had a material change in the decision-making dynamics within RFMOs since we have turned more to them in a more sustainable way?
Yeah, thanks, Deirdre. So about a decade ago, we became really interested in harvest strategies or management procedures, and began trying to advance them at a wide variety of RFMOs and for a vastly different set of fisheries. Why? Because we were interested in its ability to improve the way fisheries were managed, and with that, improve the health of the ocean more broadly by embedding science, making decisions more efficient, more transparent, everything my fellow panelists have discussed, more stable. And now, just like we've heard today, those benefits are really playing out in practice in the RFMOs where MPs have been developed. Shingo mentioned this at the beginning of our conversation. What's really interesting to us and powerful is the efficiency that what the efficiency of management procedures has unlocked at RFMOs. So now that managers aren't having to spend so much of their time debating quotas, they can turn their attention to other really pressing issues. So things like, how do we address the impact of climate change? How do we improve compliance? How do we rebuild stocks that traditionally have received less attention? In that way, we're seeing that MPs aren't just improving one aspect of management, they're improving the whole system of management. And as we've seen these benefits accrue, we're seeing the approach spread. So tuna RFMOs, as we heard from Shana, are early adopters of management procedures, but now most RFMOs are in the process of developing and implementing them around the globe. One quick example is the Southern Indian Ocean Fisheries Agreement, or SEOFA, is now looking at management procedures for stocks like orange roughy and alfonsino. And it's kind of showing us that you don't have to start with the basic management tools anymore. You can kind of leapfrog and jump straight to the kind of gold standard of management procedures. The final takeaway for me is this: anyone can be part of making the shift to management procedures happen. When we started this work a decade ago, there were very few experts in this space, very little, if anything, written down about how you developed management procedures. My fellow panelist, Brian Jeffries, might remember very early conversations with Pew and our partners where we had a million questions for him about how you developed these and how you implemented them. And now you fast forward to today, and you have this FAO eLearning Academy course sponsored by Jeff's Common Oceans Project, which walks you through step by step, as Shana showed, how you develop and how you implement management procedures. And to me, it is one of the fastest ways that you can build the practical skills you need to engage in what is now modern fisheries management. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for that information and that historical perspective. And thanks to all of the panelists for your very thoughtful and detailed and interesting perspectives and information that you were able to share. I appreciate the common themes that we heard come out through the questions on the value of management procedures, but the fundamental importance of that consultative and collaborative process that's grounded in capacity building, understanding, and trust. And so to that end, it's also appreciate the ways that the panelists have highlighted the value of the work that FAO and its partners have carried out, and for so clearly highlighting the practical relevance of this new e-learning course. Unfortunately, we are out of time and we will not be able to have any kind of an interactive questioning and answering session. But we have taken good note of the many excellent questions that have been shared by the participants. And we also would like to invite anyone to send any additional questions to info@harveststrategies.org, and we can paste that in the chat, where we will carefully review all of the questions and answer and address them. And again, the question and answer, a summary of the questions and answers will be available along with the recording of this webinar in the website going forward as a resource. So I really wish we'd had more time to have a discussion. I wish we'd had more time to get more information from our experts and really excellent panelists here. But unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time. So on behalf of the FAO and the Common Oceans program, I would like to sincerely thank all of the panelists and speakers for their valuable insights and contributions, as well as the many, many panelists who have joined us from all around the world for your engagement and your thoughtful questions that you have posted that we will certainly take up. I'd also like to express my appreciation to the Global Environment Facility for its generous support of the Common Oceans Tuna Project, which has made the development of both this e-learning course and today's event possible. Before we close, we will put up the splash screen again, and you'll see the QR code has some information with some visuals from the course platform, and you can access, using that code, the full e-learning series that is available on the eLearning Academy. We encourage you to explore this full course series, share it with your colleagues, and use it as a practical resource to strengthen capacity development, informed decision-making, in fisheries management writ large, but especially using these management procedure tools. And before you leave, we would like to invite you to complete a short satisfaction survey, which will be pushed out to you and taken into account when designing future events and learning activities under the Common Oceans program. And finally, I would like to acknowledge and thank the many course developers and reviewers who have collaborated over the years to develop this course series, many of whom you've heard from today in these discussions, as well as the teams that are currently working to produce the Spanish and French versions that will be available, as we heard, later this year, and will further broaden its global research. Thanks again to all of you for taking the time from your busy schedules to join us today, and we look forward to welcoming you again to future FAO eLearning Academy initiatives. So please scan the QR code, and please provide your feedback to the short survey that you will be seeing up on the screen right now. Thanks to the panelists, thanks to the organizers, and thanks to the participants, and best to all of you.